Welcome to the Southington Board of Education meeting for Thursday, May 28th, 2026. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and have our student reps lead us. Our student rep lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, we're starting with motion for approval of our minutes from our May 7th, 2026 meeting.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion from Mrs. Carmody, a second from Mr. Brown. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, the motion passes. We'll start moving into public communications, and we'll start with our Board of Education representative.
We don't have any communications for tonight. I'm just here to listen to the allocation talks.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
That was quick.
We'll move to communications from Board of Education members. Mr. Brown?
Yeah, this will be quick. I want to give a shout out to Kyle Finkel. He recommended a book to me. I know I talk about books a lot, and I won't talk about this whole long one. It's called Navigating the AI Revolution in Our Schools. It's excellent. AI is here, and to fight it is to put your head in the sand. The book is great about where it can be used usefully and some of the pitfalls of using it. So I highly recommend reading the book. It's not very long. It's excellent, written by a, I guess you went to an actual talk he gave, right? It's a wonderful book, and I will talk a little more in the future about it, but I know we have budget tonight, so
Great.
thank you, Kyle.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Yep.
Is there anybody else?
Just quickly, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Whitehead?
Had an opportunity to go to the Future Farmers Banquet last night.
Nice.
Mr. Aronofsky was there as well. What a wonderful, wonderful time and group of children. If you're ever wondering if we're going to be okay in society, attend one of those banquets and I think you'll figure out the answer is an astounding yes. Those children were just really, really impressive from top to bottom. So I had a great time there. And if anyone here or at home is interested in our VOAG program, it's one of the best ones in the state by far. I would advise you to go down there and take a look. It was a wonderful time and banquet.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for attending.
It was
thank you,
a lot of fun. Great
Excellent.
kids.
All right. Anybody else? Mr. Carson?
And Mr. Whitehead, it's agricultural science now.
Using the old name.
Thank you, Sean.
Yeah, no problem. No, but I just wanted to chime in real quick. Actually, this morning, finally had a chance to attend early childhood annual breakfast held downtown at SoCA. Absolutely amazing. Great networking opportunity just to continue a community discussion and a partnership, about our children in the Southington community before they get to us, right? And what we can do to help families and help children as they enter our school system. So definitely a very well 90 minutes spent this morning, so just wanted to notate that.
Thank you.
If I could add to that, because Mr. Medancy, Mr. Pepe, and I were also
Yeah.
there, and a couple other people. If you get a chance, go on their website and look at the survey, the townwide survey that was done for families with young children. Some of the statistics will surprise you, will sadden you. So I'll leave it at that. They were pretty remarkable statistics that we saw, so just sharing that.
One quick more thing, Mr. Chair, if I could.
Absolutely.
Tonight is also the night for the JFK, I believe it's scholarship program. So we've got a BOE meeting at the same night. I'm missing my daughter getting a scholarship award. So if you're out there, Lily, I'd love you very much to add
All right. Anybody else? Ms.
Yeah,
Gleason?
and this has been a jam-packed month, I think, for all of us, but I had the opportunity to go to the Stellar store on Main Street, and they had a soft opening. I'm not sure exactly what Mrs. Cahill called it, but kudos to them. If you have an opportunity to just stop in, and I believe they're taking donations. They just sent something out to say they're going to be accepting donations. So just a shout out, because it's beautiful. The space is beautiful, and I can't wait to see our students working there. So kudos.
Excellent. Anyone else? All right, thank you all very much. We'll move communications from the administration.
Thank you. A couple items tonight of interest. One, Mrs. Carmody and I had the opportunity to attend the most recent Business Advisory Council lunch, and just some statistics that were shared with us that I just think really should highlight the great work being done in the business advisory or in the business department. 453 students at the high school are eligible for college credit based on business courses alone that were taken. That's an increase of 59% from 24-25. So that's a substantial increase. 35 students are eligible for accounting, 2 credits, 16 students for advanced accounting, 161 students for personal finance, 49 students for UConn Essentials of Economics, 25 for UConn AP Principles of Microeconomics, 21 for Business Communications from Central Connecticut, 49 for Management and Entrepreneurship from Central Connecticut, and another 97 for Central Connecticut from Marketing too. One of the things we talk about, and I think you've heard me say here, college, it's not really quite the place you go to find yourself anymore. It's too expensive to change majors and lose credits and switch schools. So for the students to be able to go down our pathways, which we're working hard on developing, to get a feel for what it is they may want to invest hard-earned dollars in, either theirs, loans, or their parents, I think this gives them a really nice start. So having 3 kids myself in college right now, I understand every penny counts, and when you can get college credits while you're in high school, I just think it's an outstanding work by that department. For the scholarship night,
So Steve, excuse me one second, I just would like to comment on what
Sure.
business luncheon. I was sitting with the representative from Central Connecticut, and he was just so impressed with how prepared our students were. And of course, you look at all the credits that the kids are earning, and it's just unbelievable. But every time he met with a student, and whatever questions and things they asked, our kids were so totally prepared. So that's just wonderful things to hear about our business department. So thank you.
Yep, absolutely. Also attended last week the Southington High School Scholarship Night. Some just really talking about generosity in the community. 133 seniors were awarded scholarships. Many received more than one. 313 total scholarships were given out from 174 donors and close to $225,000. And one of our board reps got quite a few scholarships himself. So congratulations.
Way to go.
We also have had art nights. We had May 11th, I was able to attend one of the art nights, and then we had the Project Lead the Way Senior Night earlier this week, and then the elementary district-wide art event at the high school last night. And so this is also a nice time of year where we're actually able to celebrate the work that the students have done and admire their accomplishments. The artwork that is on display, if you've been up to those shows or if you've been through, is just amazing, so impressive. And the Project Lead the Way Senior Night, Mr. White, it's a lot like you just said. You wonder about the future of this generation. These kids are spot on. Just some of the inventions that they showcased or ideas that they were trying to problem solve through some of their presentations and ideations of different products could absolutely go to market. Like they're both original, but also would solve a problem. So great work from Project Lead the Way folks, you included. And that concludes my report tonight.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for the administration? No? Okay.
I do have one comment. It
Mr.
just
Brown?
occurs to me, the thing about the early dismissal, I think the fact that we offer so many college courses, college credit courses, is a good reason to examine the number of seniors leaving. Some of them are missing an opportunity to take courses that could save their family money
Great point.
down the road in college. So that's why that's such an important thing to figure out.
All right, thank you. So the big part about tonight is we're going to be talking about reallocation and the finalization of the budget, but the work never stops for the Board of Education, so we have a few things that are going to be going on before we get there. And we'll start with policy and personnel with Mrs. Darrenowski Anastasia.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm rushing myself. I apologize. Thank you. I skipped the public communications. I'm very sorry. Public communications for items that are on the agenda. Is there anybody who would like to speak about any agenda item this evening? Come on up and you could state your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name is Nora Bushman, and I live on 175 Farmingberry Drive. When we look at a special education teacher or a para, are we looking at them in the matter of money, or are we looking at them in the matter of the impact they make on a student's life? Growing up, I struggled in many of my core classes, particularly in reading and writing, and I want to emphasize that this not only affects a student's performance in academics, but also a student's performance with mental health. Before I received help from a special education teacher, school felt impossible and typically ended in tears. However, with the right support from special education teachers and paras, I finally found my confidence in both myself and my work. These special education teachers have truly shaped me into who I am today. Now, as a freshman in high school, I'm taking honors classes, in which I never thought I could do. The special education teachers I worked with played a crucial role in shaping my future. When I was struggling, I couldn't see myself fitting into any job, but now I have complete confidence in my capabilities. Confidence that makes me have a strong future planned for myself. The point I want to get across is these teachers don't just make an impact, they make a lasting one. Throughout my 8th grade year of middle school, I had the honor of working with a special education teacher who had such an impact on my life. From teaching me silly little things like phonics and watching me laugh as I struggled to figure it out, to having meaningful conversations about my future and teaching me self-worth. They reached out to me on a personal level, providing one-on-one support that was impossible for a teacher in a classroom setting. If we reduce the budget for special education teachers and paras, we are essentially cutting off a student's path to success and their personal advocate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else that would like to speak about an item on the agenda this evening? Going once? All right, hearing none. Now we will move on to the Policy and Personnel Committee.
I'm getting there, okay. Revisions to policy 3440, inventories were reviewed, the associated regulations were removed and incorporated into the body of the revised policy. Additional language was added based on the model policy review to codify current policies. Revisions to policy 5141.6, wellness policy were reviewed. Discussion occurred around the necessity of policy since Southington continues to accept federal funding. The language updates mirror the model policy used and were authorized by Southington's food service director. Updated language covers items spanning from potable water, free and reduced meals, to training and qualifications of food staff. And then we updated job descriptions for special education teacher, maintenance carpenter, technician 1, maintenance electrician, technician 1, maintenance general, technician 2, and maintenance painter, technician 2 were all individually reviewed, and the descriptions offered accurately capture the current roles and associated responsibilities. And that was it.
Thank
It's a
you very
quick
much.
meeting, it was nice. We don't have any further meeting dates. Mr. Pepe is gonna get them to me shortly, and I'll fill you guys in.
Excellent. Any questions on policy? Mr. Vasevsky?
I unfortunately wasn't able to attend that meeting, so specifically with the wellness policy, what does that kind of just encapsulate in general?
You know, each year when we have to read off verbatim the motion, because we,
My favorite motion.
correct, in fact,
Versus the meeting I missed, yeah.
and during this policy meeting, we actually talked about you, because
We did.
said how much in favor you would be.
Yes.
Memorializing. It's really just an update to our existing
We
policy
did.
to make sure that, that it illustrates our current practices, but it's based on the model policy that given by Shipman and Goodwin.
And I also have the handout that you gave me, Joe, if you wanna take a look at this. This is what he used to do. I don't know if you need to see this.
Yeah,
Okay.
that'd be great. That's
Oh, yeah, here you go. You can take it now.
perfect.
See, remember to bring it with me.
And again, I would challenge this board at some point. I think we're missing the mark especially when it comes to food service, that they're paying in our schools, you know. I know that federal funding is important, especially when we're talking about reallocating budgets and everything else. But, you know, again, if you build it, they will come. We know this, right? So if you have options for students, options for staff, you know, people will purchase food. So I would challenge us to try and look more into that and possibly not have to worry about this anymore. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any other comments? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And we'll be back to you in a little bit for some,
Yes.
some motions. We'll move into old business, town government communications. Mr. Bedancy?
I have nothing new to report tonight.
Excellent, okay. Now we'll move into some activity that has taken place with the Curriculum and Instruction Committee. Mr. Brown?
Yep. I move that the Board of Education approve SHS World Language French Year 5, Units 3 to 5 revised, as presented by the Curriculum and Instruction Committee.
So moved?
Second.
You seconded.
That's the second.
I moved it.
Oh,
Second.
you Sorry, I seconded. I'm sorry.
We have a motion and a second by Mrs. Carmody. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Move the Board of Education approve SHS World Language Spanish Year 5, Units 3 to 6 revised, as presented by the Curriculum and Instruction Committee.
Second?
Motion and a second by Mrs. Clark. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Move the Board of Education approve SHS World Language Latin American Studies Year 5, Units 3 to 5 revised, as presented by the Curriculum and Instruction Committee.
Second.
Yeah. Motion and a second by Mrs. Clark. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Let me just say that the Foreign Language Department does a terrific job in making our languages relevant to real life. It's amazing. It's not the whole learn your vocabulary and diagram a sentence. It's amazing. And we have more for the next time. We met yesterday, too.
If only we could start it sooner.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I totally agree. Absolutely.
We tried.
So, next one. And this is another department that's doing a terrific job, the VOAG department. They have a bunch of revisions and more to come, actually. So, move the Board of Education approve the Agricultural Science Advanced Equine Evaluation and Horsemanship New as presented by the Curriculum and Instruction Committee.
Second?
Motion, second by Mrs. Carmody. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion passes.
Move the Board of Education approve the Agricultural Science Advanced Equine Management revised as presented by the Curriculum and Instruction Committee.
Second?
Motion, second by Mrs. Clark. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes.
Move the Board of Education approve the Agricultural Science Advanced Equine Yukon ECE Behavior and Training New as presented by the Curriculum and Instruction Committee.
Second?
Motion, second by Mrs. Carmody. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes.
Move the Board of Education approve the Agricultural Science Advanced Equine Yukon ECE Companion Animal New as presented by the Curriculum and Instruction Committee.
Second?
Motion, second by Mrs. Carmody. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes.
Move the Board of Education approve the Social Studies Modern U.S. History, Grade 9, Unit 6, revised as presented by the Curriculum and Instruction Committee.
Second?
Motion, second by Mrs. Clark. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
I will comment, we had a bunny this week at our meeting, which we'll talk more about next meeting.
You have to go to Hatton and you will find ducks. We saw
And
ducks
they
at
follow
Hatton
you in the
when we
hallway.
were walking through the hallway.
Good going.
Yeah, and they follow you. The ducks followed us in the hallway as we were touring.
Mrs. Ursioli in her classroom, she's always had not a gerbil, not a hamster, but a guinea pig.
I like the,
Okay. All right, we will move into new business. We have a couple of items that are on for first read that came out of the Policy and Personnel Committee. Policy 3440, inventories, it's revised, that's on for first read. And policy 5141.6, the wellness policy revised in the first read. And now we have a couple of job descriptions for
Yes.
approval.
Yep, I'm ready. Move that the Board of Education approve the job description as presented by the Policy and Personnel Committee.
Second?
Motion, second by Mrs. Carmody.
Good job.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Which, sorry,
Oh,
Did I say that wrong?
No, you didn't say it.
the motion doesn't have the
Prompted
name.
in the system,
Yeah.
not correctly. It was too vague.
It was
It doesn't have
I'm
the
reading
name
it
of the
literally.
job description.
the job description for the special
Oh.
education teacher?
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was just, that piece
So it
was
was,
just
did
missing
I
from the
didn't read it wrong, it
motion.
was written wrong. Okay, move that the Board of, can I reread it?
Oh,
Move that the Board of Education approve job description for special education teacher as presented by the Policy and Personnel Committee.
second, or Mrs. Carmody.
Okay, motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes.
Move that the Board of Education approve the job description Carpenter Tech 1 revised as presented by the Policy and Personnel Committee.
Second.
Motion second by Mr. Bashevsky. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Move that the Board of Education approve job description Electrician Tech 1 revised as presented by the Policy and Personnel Committee.
Second.
Motion and a second by Mr. Bashevsky. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Move that the Board of Education approve job description General Tech 2 revised as presented by the Policy and Personnel Committee.
Second?
Motion second by Mrs. Carmody. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes.
Last one. Move that the Board of Education approve job description Painter Tech 1 revised as presented by the Policy and Personnel Committee.
Second.
Motion second by Mr. Bashevsky. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we move on to the approval of our 2026-2027 school year budget. I know the superintendent has a document that he handed out to us, and it's up on the screen here for the community to see as well. And this is the culmination of the entire budget process, which started last year when all this stuff began. And what you'll see on this sheet is where we began with the initial presentation from the superintendent and the administration to the Board of Education, on to where we now have two reductions that need to be managed. A $1.6 million reduction that came from the Board of Finance, and an $833,934,000 reduction that has to take place. And I just want to, just for clarity, that $833,934 is being reduced from our budget, and when that money comes in from the state of Connecticut, is going to be put back into the budget. But a very, very important thing, and we'll say this again later, our budget number this year, when we come to the end of this budget, is truly coming in not at a $1.6 million cut. It's at a $1.6 million cut reduction, plus an additional reduction of $833,934. So our starting point for next year, this budget is going to be $833,934,000 less than what we had anticipated with the $1.6 million reduction. We have to let that sink in a little bit, because we're going to be starting with our budget next year is at $833,934 lower than we had thought, lower than what the budget we're about to go through and potentially approve is going to be covering. So we're starting in a hole. And I'm going to couple that by saying, and it may be off a little bit, but I think our number right now that we are still, for this fiscal year that we're in, we're still running a deficit. And so not only are we going to be $833,934, I'm going to repeat that number a lot because that's something we really need to remember. But we're also coming in at an additional $300,000 less. So if I could do math, 800 plus 300, 1,100, it's a lot of money. A $1.1 million hole where we're starting next year. So, having said that, we'll turn this over to the administration. What we're going to do is walk through where we were, the reductions, and then for those of you that were here at the special meeting or saw the special meeting or went to any of the public hearings for the town council, we talked a lot about these items. This is actually where we start getting into the nuts and bolts, the nitty-gritty of what line items are going to be impacted, both plus or minus throughout the budget. So, Mr. Bedinsky.
Thank you, Mr. Oshana. I just want to start first off by thanking my central office leadership team, who's worked with me extensively over the past couple weeks since the town council made their final determination to really look in every part of the budget to do as much as we could to minimize the impact that reductions have. And it really is you said it well, it's about a $2.4 million reduction in total from our original ask from your board's adopted budget, because the 1.6 was the Board of Finance's recommendation, and then the 833, what they did was they took that money off of, in addition from the 1.6, so that next year's budget, the base budget, wouldn't be artificially inflated by $833,000, knowing we're only getting that money once. But you're absolutely right, it does mirror exactly like what happened with ARP ESSER funds several years back, that we got one-time state funding, and then the thought process was to rely on that instead of tax dollars. And when you only get those funds once, it does create a bit of a predicament. The obvious reduction that you'll see when we get to the 833, I'll be able to explain it more clearly why we chose the route that we did. But I will say, just in its simplest form, at the bottom line was, we couldn't find any further reductions in staff that wouldn't have a devastating impact on the district and on district operations. And so at that point, we had to look away from staffing. When we met for our special meeting, we didn't know we were getting $833,000 more from the town, nor did we know what the town council was going to do. And so the 1.6 very much mirrors what was presented to you at that special meeting. It is reductions across the board. It's a combination of reductions, though, I will say, that some positions that, although they're retirements, we're not losing the position. And so let me explain a little bit about that. The TESOL position is a good example. When you see reduction in retirements, let's say for teacher salaries, that TESOL position isn't one of the positions that I even had highlighted on that special meeting, because that's not a position, based on our current staffing levels and the amount of multilingual students, I think it's been well documented that we actually need more. And so even though I could have taken the entire savings for that, because it was a retirement, instead, I chose to make reductions in other areas where enrollment would allow it to occur with less impact, so that I could backfill that TESOL position, with an existing staff member, so that we still have it. And so a lot of those type of movement occurred and are actually still occurring. We have internal positions posted right now that we know we can't do without, but what's going to happen is we're only going to hire internal people for those positions, because if you're looking at reducing, it doesn't make sense to add external staff, because that would ultimately result in further layoffs, and there's a cost to layoffs, unemployment costs that are associated with it. So the positions that we have are very much the salaries. It is 22 cuts total, plus the 4 that you had all supported. So we're looking at cuts of 26 positions on this plan. And it is a combination of regular education and special education. It also goes across the other areas, and as I highlighted at the special meeting, some secretarial clerical, some maintenance as well. And so we're going to certainly those are positions that we're going to be losing for good, that we won't be able to bring back. So when we start with the teacher salaries, and you break it down by the custodial, the maintenance, the paraeducator, and the teacher substitutes, I'll let Mrs. Mellett speak to those. It's pretty self-explanatory based on what's on the sheet, but then walk you down the rest of it, because a lot of the other costs on the sheet are related to the bottom line. So, Mrs. Mellett?
Thank you. And if we can just go back up to the top for a minute, it's also important to note that the numbers here in the tan relate to reductions to the self-insurance budget. Those reductions don't have a direct impact on any of our services that we're able to provide to our employees as their benefits. However, when we set the budget in December, there were subsequent discussions regarding possibly using reserves from the self-insurance fund to reduce everybody's costs, along with updated projections, because obviously the closer we get to the end of the year, the better information we have as far as like how the claims are running, because we're self-insured, so we pay for all those claims. So it's important to note that those total up to that first subtotal of $1,932,000, and that's the first area of the reductions under the black line there. So again, there's no impact to staff or any of our services by having that $1.9 million reduction. It's just a matter of the timing of when we started our budget process in October, November, December to this time here. So that being said, the first line item is the teacher's salaries, which is a reduction of $703,255. It's mainly from the reductions. Retirements will have fewer elementary sections, will have larger class sizes than at the elementary schools, and fewer selections at the high school. And it is important to note that the larger class sizes at the elementary schools will still be within the board policy for the class sizes. The next item is an item related to the new teaching contract, $93,384. These are teachers at the high school that are going to be receiving, or they'll be teaching another class on top of their regular workload. So the new contract allowed us to compensate them for their services. So working with the high school principal and identifying what classes are needed for the new year, that's an actual add back that we need additional funds to pay those teachers. The custodial line item, it's not a reduction of people. However, we have core hours at the middle schools, the middle schools, elementary schools, and high schools. That's during the winter months when the weather couldn't be unpredictable. We make sure that we have somebody in the buildings just checking on the condition of it. And I believe it's a 4-hour minimum. They walk around, the custodians come to the building, walk around. And what we determined after working with the Director of Operations was that those schools, the 2 middle schools, are used with the Park and Recs group, and so people are physically in those buildings, so they're aware of if something is leaking, that kind of thing. So instead of paying our custodians to come, we're removing those core hours at the at the middle schools. The maintenance salary we did discuss during our previous meeting. There's a retirement there, so that will not be filled. The paraeducator salary on this line is related to the copy clerk at the high school specifically, who is retiring. And then we have spoken many times at the finance committee level, and you've seen the minutes from our meetings. The teacher substitute line is well over budget. We have building subs that we employ on a daily basis at the schools. Then we have family medical leave acts that we're covering along with daily subs for, just a sick day for our teachers. So we're trying to increase the funding on that line item, so we have an amount on there. The 14,200 is the removal of the new personnel and salaries and benefits that we had previously requested. The administration had requested during the budget process. However, we are keeping the .3 business teacher to allow additional classes to be held. The assistant girls golf coach, and there were a couple of $1,000s in there for the summer hours for clerical staff, mainly at the high school. So those are the reductions on the regular ed side of salaries. The benefits that go along with those, the municipal retirement fund relates to hourly clerical staff, the custodial, the maintenance. So this is a reduction related to the removal of those salaries from the top. The other part of this line is related to when we did the budget back in December, we did not have the new rate for MERS. That doesn't come out until after we're well into our process. So we had used 17.21%, and when we found out what our rate was going to be, it's 16.82. So you'll see that reduction both here in the regular ed, and then you'll see it lower in the special ed. And the Social Security and the Medicare, the Social Security is the 6.2% employer tax, and that is related to the hourly staff. It does not relate to teaching staff because they're not covered by Social Security. The Medicare is being taken only on those hourly staff as well. The workers' compensation reduction is an updated quote from our existing provider, We share a policy with the town, so the town has a similar reduction on their side based on the new quote from them. And again, you'll see $40,000 here, and there's another amount down in the special ed section. The next item in the purchase services is the medical and athletic training services that we talked about at the finance committee. There was a $10,000 increase to the budget based on the services and the new contract that we're going to be entering into for the new year at the high school. And the district-wide software, this $32,060 is just simply a transfer from the school-based software that's about 5 lines down from here. It's just a housekeeping item. We're removing it from the school-based software, putting it up into the district software. There's no reduction. It's just a housekeeping to put it where it really should be. The student insurance, we have the actual locked-in rate now, so that was a small reduction, so we worked that in here. Magnet school tuitions, we have had fewer students attending magnet schools, so we're able to bring this line down slightly. It's purely based on enrollment. If you remember, 2 years ago, they changed the amount of tuitions that districts had to spend, so we're still kind of equalizing, and this reduction should put us in line with the currently enrolled students. If new students choose to go to magnet schools over the summer, that line will need some extra funds. The next item, we are reducing the high school transportation line by $125,000. This is due to us implementing the pay for play for athletics, both at the high school and the middle schools. We will collect this funds from the students that are participating in those sports. There will be limits as far as a family maximum, number of kids in your family, number of sports played, that kind of thing. And our athletic director has worked on providing information. We also discounted what we believe would be collected to reflect any kind of waivers that might be needed for students who qualify for free and reduced lunch. So this is the lower amount of that, so we're trying to be conservative with what we believe we can collect. So in other words, we'll be collecting revenues and using that revenue to pay for the athletic transportation, so our operating budget is being reduced to reflect that.
One moment, please. Mrs. Clark?
Have the coaches have been notified and the parents have been notified?
No,
No.
we didn't, because the board hasn't adopted this yet, and so we wouldn't do anything official until the board takes action.
What are we looking at as far as cost per family?
I have that information for you. Let me see here. And we also looked at surrounding towns and what they were charging, and also what surrounding towns were actually doing pay for play. It would be, for the high school, it'd be $125 per sport. If an athlete plays more than one sport, it would be $250 for 2 seasons of play, $500 for, and that's an individual cap. So that even the multi-sport athlete, if you play 3 sports, my daughter plays 3, we wouldn't be paying for all 3, we'd be paying for 2 of the 3 in this model. And then the family cap, so if you have siblings that play, especially siblings that play multiple sports, they wouldn't each get charged for each sport, the maximum rate. It would be $500 max total for a family. For all of the sports, all of the siblings would play. And we do have a waiver for hardship. It is less at the middle school, far less. And a lot of that, as you know, we paid the middle school coaches less. There are less games. There's less costs for officiating, transportation, and all of that. So it's only $50 per season, $100 for 2 seasons of play, $200 family cap.
Thank you.
Mr. Carson, do you have a question, or was that was your question?
Yeah, that covers it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Clark, you good?
Yeah, that's fine, thank you.
Thank you. Please continue.
And then moving into the supply section of the budget, we're reducing the testing supplies to better reflect what our true expense is. That's related to the PSAT prep and the supplies related for that. The oil heat is being increased by $40,000 as the price was not previously locked in when we did our budget. The next 2 line items are text replacement, reduction of $20,000, and consumable activity books for $17,535. We have a grant called the Dual Credit Expansion Grant, and these items are were requested by the high school administration during our budget process, so we worked them into the new year budget. However, we were able to revise our grant application for the dual credit expansion, and we were able to put these items in that grant. These are mainly AP textbooks and a consumable book for math for machinists, which all of those classes, students are allowed to, can gain college credit for them, and that's the purpose of that grant. So we were able to realize those savings in the new budget. And then, as Mr. Medancy said, we worked with every department trying to find where we could remove and reduce, and the technology department really dug into all their line items, and the school-based software, they were able to, although they would love to have these, they felt as though these were things that could be removed in light of our budget reductions that were necessary. So $36,793 is coming off of the school-based software that relates to things like BrainPop, EdPuzzle, GimKit, Padlet, and Mystery Science, to name a few. And this next line item is the $32,060, which we transferred to the district-wide software above. So again, no reduction there. The technology equipment purchases, students pay for device insurance for their Chromebooks, the $35 that families can buy. Then if Chromebooks are damaged, the money is available to replace parts, Chromebooks. So we're moving the device money here to help with the purchase of new Chromebooks. Now, entering the special education salary line items, the first one is a special education administrative salary for $49,982. There's a proposal to reduce one position, and per the contract language, the administrator would move into the teaching salary, teaching contract.
Mrs. Clark?
With all the work that has been done in the past year, this is one I personally, I cannot stomach. No.
Talking.
Yeah, no, we have worked too hard.
I know.
How many hours or how many students would be impacted by this?
Well, that particular one is for 2 buildings, correct? That particular administrative position?
So hypothetically, right now, yes, but what it would impact is all the buildings, because if you go down from 4 to 3, then three people would have to do the work, of course, it would be covering 12 schools instead of.
Yeah, we're talking administrative.
Mr. Medancy, the whole thing is hard for our hearts to take because of the hard work all of us have done all these years for the Board of Education. But to cut a special ed coordinator with all the gains we've made in special ed in our district and bringing as many students as we can back into the district, they are so overwhelmed with PPTs and caseloads that I can't accept that. I cannot accept that cut. And I know it's in the budget. I don't like cutting teachers. I don't like cutting paras. I don't like cutting any of it. But I am especially upset about the special ed coordinator, especially.
Mr. Whiting?
So, I agree with you, Terry. I had the opportunity to attend a, special ed meeting, PTP, is that the right acronym?
PPT.
Yeah, so the amount of resources needed
Right.
to run one of those meetings and the amount of information that is gleaned from all the different types of special educators that are in that particular room when you're having that meeting, I don't want to see one of them go, because the only thing that's happening is, through testing or otherwise, is more and more children are arriving
Exactly.
on these 504 plans, probably half the classroom. And so, with the loss of a special education teacher, I think that's going backwards, so to speak. And I think it would do a tremendous disservice to all the children, not only that have the physical disabilities, but rather the emotional kind too, or the mental health. We always talk about it being cataclysmic, but it is. If you are in those rooms and have the opportunity to be a part of one of those special ed meetings, or, there's a ton of people in there, and every single person has something to add, whether it's PT, whether it's the speech therapist, whether it's whomever. And so I just think it's unethical, if we're really here for the children, to pull from that, when we all know that special ed is beginning to be a problem we really need to think a little bit differently about.
Is there someplace else we could pull from? I'm just dollar-wise, is there someplace else that we could find? Because
Let's hold on one second, and let's go to Mr. Brown.
I'm sorry, I'm just,
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, this is very complicated. First, I want to talk about public perception. The perception is we have too many administrators and they're paid too much. We did some research this year, looked at numbers compared to other districts. That simply isn't true. We don't have more than other districts. We probably have slightly fewer. And the pay certainly is not at the top of the DIRG or the area. Having said that, I think those arguments hold true with the teachers we're eliminating, the positions, I should say, with the paras we're eliminating. Some of those are special ed. The teachers are also special ed. The janitorial time. I think and we said we're going to do this, I don't like any of those cuts, but if we're going to eliminate teaching positions, para positions, custodial time, I think we have to eliminate an administrator. Now, we could ask for another administrator besides that one. I'd be open to if there's something else. But for us to cut all those other things, and every one of them is going to do damage. The class sizes are going up. There's more kids who need help, and they're going to get less help. That's true of all those cuts. None of us like any of those cuts. And I think those arguments hold true for all of the cuts. So I don't like the administrator, but I also don't like any of the teachers either, or the paras. I think we have to do one administrator if we're cutting all those other things.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. We're going to go Mr. Carson and then Mr. Bishevsky.
Okay, so, Mr. Brown, to your point, yeah, don't like any of it, right? Don't like any of the staff reductions, because we've done the work and we've made the case for all the positions, right? This coordinator role in particular, however, is specialized, okay? And because of its special nature, right, the position alone, right, you need an administrator certification, right, an 092. With that said, we do not currently have within district the staff, the people with the credentials and the experience to absorb the loss of this administrator, okay? Whereas I can make a better argument that if you remove a teaching position or you remove a support position, that can be more easily absorbed because of the special nature of this coordinator position. My second argument, or my second point, is you and this entire board and our community and the administration know the challenges that the entire district, community, and this board were faced with leading up to the hiring of Mrs. Oresco. Are we now going to put her position, her role in the district as new to her role and new to serving the needs of this board, this school district, this community at a direct and very impactful loss if we don't fill that coordinator role, if we eliminate it, okay? My third point is, I don't even think we would be here right now if members of this board didn't challenge our superintendent and our administration with doing cuts across the district. I don't even think we'd be talking about this right now. I didn't ask for it, but I can promise you a member of this board asked for administrative cut. I don't even think we'd be here right now if that wasn't brought up at a previous meeting. My fourth point, the savings, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mrs. Mellett, please correct me if I'm wrong if the numbers don't add up. But from what I'm seeing here is if that administrative position is removed, it only saves the district $49,000, right? Because essentially what happens is that certified administrative role per contract, per collective bargaining agreement, goes down to a teaching level salaried position, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So with that said, I've made my points. Hear me, don't hear me, listen, don't listen. It really doesn't matter at this point because we have to move forward and we have to make a decision. I think I've made valid points. As far as the $49,000 go, my suggestion for us, if we want to discuss it now, let's discuss it. We have to make a decision. Is whether it's from the teacher substitute line, whether it's from a reduction in overall teaching positions within our elementary schools, we need to find somewhere else, some other line item where we do not eliminate that administrative role. And I think that maybe the teacher substitute line, 12,200, maybe there's an opportunity there, right? I think that this current budget cycle, we saw the impact of House Bill 5005, which was basically the expansion of the Connecticut Sick Leave Act, right? So we saw more leaves than historically we were prepared to absorb this current year. And so I can see that obviously there was a discussion because there's $239,000 more in that line item than there was in this current budget. So I'm asking the administration for the board's knowledge so we can move forward and make an intelligent decision. Is there an opportunity to possibly reduce that increase by $49,000 to keep this administrator?
All right, so let's hold off on that for a moment. I want to give, Mr. Brown had asked for an opportunity just to respond to some of the comments.
Yeah, I'll be quick, because you did ask me some questions. My first one was, I think you answered it, but if you're gonna not eliminate, you have to find some $50,000 somewhere else.
Yep.
If your suggestion is a teacher, I'm not in favor of that. They have direct contact with students, and I don't think we should eliminate any more teachers. That's less service for people. And the second thing is, it's not in the budget now because a board member mentioned it. It was in the original list. And that list was created by the administration before the board meeting, so it wasn't stuck on there for this meeting. It was there last time on the suggested list.
Okay, I'm going to go to Mr. Bashevsky.
So the question for the administration, I know that there's a reduction of the 10 positions for the paraprofessionals. how many in total does that leave us in district, the way that it currently sits?
We're right around 300 right now, and so, I mean, I could give you the exact number.
Well, again, like,
It's,
rough numbers are fine.
so I will tell you this, I've looked at our paraeducator staffing levels, because this has been a line item that has continually grown year over year. And I was very surprised, and you know, you hope you're working with good data, but what I used was EdSite. And I went through there to determine our paraeducator levels, you know, against our total student enrollment and our total of identified number of students. We were 4th highest in the state. And we were higher than several much larger districts.
Right.
So I do think we have to look at our staffing levels for paraeducators, because to have more paraeducators than the city of New Haven, which has over 20,000 students in about, you know, over 20 schools, probably closer to 40 schools, how can we have as many paraeducators as they do?
Right.
You know? So I did look at that very closely, because at the end of the day, we still need to provide the services to the students that we've promised them, and so we need to ensure that the level of paraeducator staff we have can support those services. And with these reductions, we feel we can do that. A lot of that was also a study of how many students are exiting this year in terms of our senior class versus what's coming in from the pre-K program. So there's, you know, that's one of the pieces too, in terms of if you can cut that position, what's the least amount of impact on kids? If we know we have more paraeducators than students that will need to be assigned to them for next year, that's why we made that recommendation.
Okay. And then how many administrators that kind of like provide more of the oversight aspect, like this position that we're eliminating?
Sure, I have some.
Now, Amy, these are people that report directly to you, so they're essentially part of like the top of the team, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And just to follow up, the number of FTEs for paras is 263 currently.
163 is the.
Does that count ABAs as well?
And
No,
that
that's
doesn't,
just paras.
So that doesn't even count our ABAs, though. So 263 is paraeducator, and then ABAs are paraeducators with additional training.
yes.
We have
Another 50.
another 50 there, so that was exactly what I said, yeah.
Figuring roughly
Over 300.
And then how many administrators, because, and I understand that the paraeducators, ABAs, they're gonna be more responsible to the, essentially the individual teacher, right? The special education teacher and everything else. But I wanna, this is more of an aspect to Bob's point. You know, again, like I don't agree that, well, we have to be tit for tat. If we're gonna eliminate this, then we have to do something here. That would be the same as, how do you, again, like, do you have less grunts in a platoon and you have less special forces, right? Like, you can get more work done with a higher level performance team, right? And I'm not saying that people aren't qualified, however, going back to the past, historically on this board, the past 6 years, and the careful curation of team members that we've essentially put together to run the administration, especially to be as lean as we are. You know, I'm still waiting for the actual number of administrators from the special education side, but there's a lot of people underneath them that they're managing, and these aren't easy managed personnel, right? So, and I'm not saying it's the people, it's the IEPs, the meetings, the constant check-ins per state guidelines, per federal guidelines. Oh, we have to outplace. Oh, we could bring them back in because now we're in a good position. There's so much more movement that happens here. And to further the point, it's my understanding that this pay for play, you know, 125 was a very modest and conservative number. The way that I figured it out, we're closer to 175,000. So I really do think that there's the $50,000 that exists there that we're not necessarily accounting for. I know we're rolling the dice. I know that it puts us in a little bit of a position where, you know, we're kind of counting the hens before they hatch here. But, you know, I feel confident as a board member that I would reinstate this administration role, because again, like, this person is re-solidifying all the bridges that were burned over the past 3 years.
Ms. Camuso?
Yes, so as far as the special education administrator, I don't agree with removing that either. I think that's pretty clear. Most of us don't want to. I guess what I would ask the administration is, do you have an alternative? Like, do you have any line items that you think could counter this? I know that some were mentioned, but.
Through you, I'll defer. if you
Like,
want me
is
to
there
answer
anybody
that.
else before we move on? Because I think there's been a common question here as to if there is a $49,982 adjustment to this budget, so we have to find it somewhere. So with the conversations now, let's turn this over to the administration, is can you find $49,982 more dollars if that budget position stays in place?
I think the two items we could look at were really both brought up, and I don't think, I agree with everyone who has said we can't reduce our staffing any further in terms of teachers or paraeducators, so I would not look in those lines. I think I would be looking at the substitute line. That was the driver of our deficit this year. We all know that. You've all been following the Finance Committee meetings. That is an add, right? And so that was something that wasn't in the original budget. It doesn't result in any loss of services for students. It doesn't result in any reduced staffing. And so even if we were to reduce it by that amount, we're still adding roughly $200,000 to that line above and beyond what was in the original budget. So I do think that would be a place. The reason why I hesitate on the pay for play is because it's our first year doing it, and so I think we're not working with real numbers yet until we realize how many kids might need financial assistance. And so this was run, the athletic director ran models with multiple sets of numbers based off of the number of student athletes who participated this year, including those who were multi-sport athletes or who had siblings. And so we did budget lower, you're correct, because we just don't know the unknown in terms of the financial hardships and the amount of support we're going to need to provide families. So I would, if I had to make a recommendation, and I could, concur with Mrs. Mellon on this, I don't want to speak on my own on this, but to me, it's this teacher substitute line. 290, no, actually, I'm looking at the wrong line, I'm sorry.
It would change the amount to, if I'm not mistaken, $189,000.
Correct, yeah, sorry, I was, even with my my new glasses, I still can't see it. So yes, it would change that number, but we're still adding a considerable amount above and beyond what we were trying to add based on this year's deficit. So I still think it puts our budget in a better space than it did, and it doesn't result in any further staff.
Do we need a consensus
Well, why don't
for
we-
that, or how do we go about?
Yeah, so why don't we do this? Can we finish that particular section?
Okay,
Mrs. Mellon, take us through that.
okay.
The 83,113 teacher salary line is a retirement that is not being filled. Then we're adding back $26,000 for teacher salaries to allow a stipend position for outplaced PPT coordinator and the pre-K3 evaluations that have to be done. Then the paraeducator line, paraprofessional or paraeducator salary line is being reduced by 10 positions, so it's a reduction of $299,970. The BCBA and ABA salary line item is simply a correction to the salaries based on the number of working days over what we budgeted them at, so that's a correction. And then the rest of this is mainly what we already discussed. The municipal retirement fund is based on fewer hourly salary employees in the special education side. Same with this, Social Security is a 6.2%, the Medicare is a 1.45%, and the workers' comp is the same as up above with the adjusted quote. An additional $46,000 is being requested on the out-of-town tuition for an agency-placed student who currently exists in the district. That is their tuition and transportation minus the anticipated special education excess cost reimbursement grant from the state. And then we're also, during our original budget season, we had requested an increase to the extended school year salaries line of $155,000 over the previous year. And based on the current staffing, working with Mrs. Oresco and Mrs. Passamano, and the actual staffing on those lines, we were able to bring that requested $155,000 down by $35,000 and still be able to service the students that are being referred to the extended school year. And all of those together will realize the $1.6 million reduction proposed by the Board of Finance. The next section.
So let's hold off on that for
Okay.
one moment. Mr. Brown, you had one more question?
Yeah, I have two questions. The first one is, and I've been asked this by a lot of people, a lot of our employees, this use of the self-insurance reserve fund. Where exactly does that money come from? Isn't some of that employee money?
Yes, it is the culmination of the many years that the self-insurance fund has been in existence. It's the difference between the claims get paid out and the premiums that are paid in. Premiums are paid by employees at their cost share based on their union or non-union status. And then the Board of Ed's operating budget and the town's budget also have a component that they're putting in. When we calculate, if we go back up to the top of that sheet that you all have in front of you, if we use the reserve, the calculation removes the first 20% of those reserves. So in round numbers, if we said we were using $1 million, 20% is 200,000. Don't quote me on that.
I have to quote you on that.
So the
Finance person, you better
First
get the numbers
200,000.
right.
Quote me on this.
You know, in her defense, she was the only one here working Saturday and Monday. Her brain is mush right now, so I'm going to give you benefit of the doubt.
Thank you. So $1 million, take off the first 20% because the average cost share of all the employees combined average out to 20%. So they take 20% out of it, then the $800,000 that is left is split between the Board of Ed at 74% and the town of Southington at 26%. So when we say we're using $1 million of reserves, we're not taking $1 million. We're holding off 20% for the employees, and then the Self-Insurance Committee, or Board of Finance now, agrees to the split between the Board of Ed and the town. So our operating budget realizes 74%.
Okay.
And I do have a second question. I like this idea of of putting the administrator back in, if we can take that out of the substitute pay account. Here's my question, though. Are we gonna find ourselves next May in the same spot we are now with a deficit of that amount of money?
It's an unknown, Bob.
A lot of this paid sick leave acts that, you know, and FMLA and all that, that's an unknown. It's kind of what you consider an unfunded liability. We know we have to pay for those leaves, but we don't know how many would come in a given year. This year, I think, has been, and I can speak for Mrs. Passamano, a potentially difficult year because even, I'll use maternity leaves as an example, we had some really unique staff certifications that went out consecutively from one school in student services that we actually had to contract out for. You know, and so that's cost from another, that's the purchase services, which makes that overrun occur, you know. So I would say there's no absolutes, and we are, at least by doing the 183, still doing a lot better, you know, by adding that.
Okay, I want to stop here for 1 minute because the next reduction is the additional $833,934. So based on what I've just heard, I want to see if what the board's feeling is before we move on to that next step. If we went and did what we just discussed, and that is retain that special ed administrative position, the coordinator, that 49,982, and reduce that amount from line item 12200, the substitute, bring that number down to 189,000 even, and we would eliminate that line item 83,112 for the special ed administrative salary. So that position would stay in place. So just looking to see if we can get a consensus among the board as to, is that the direction we're looking to go
Yes.
right now? Mr. Carson?
Yes,
Mr.
yeah.
Yes.
Mr. Wachowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
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 I would support that, yeah.
Yes.
Yes. As would I. Okay, so we have a consensus. That's not a vote, that's just a consensus. So if we move on to the next one, and the reason I wanted to stop there is because that's the 1.6 million that's actually going to be cut. Can you, let's talk about the $833,934 reduction. Can you explain to us how that is identified here?
We have to reduce our budget by the 833. We felt that taking it out of the health insurance line while we're waiting for the appropriation to be made back to us, this health insurance line means the amount of money that the Board of Ed's operating budget is required to put into the self-insurance fund, as we were just discussing. If this money was not to be given to us, then the money would not go into the self-insurance fund. We've been assured that the funds are, I'll let Mr. Medancy.
So I did reach out to the town manager, copied the chair of the Board of Finance, chair of the town council, and chair of Board of Ed, and asked for confirmation that their intention, because I was looking at the mill rate sheet that was developed the night the town council adopted the budget, and I just wanted to confirm, based on my interpretation of how the mill rate was set, that they're still planning on getting the appropriation back to us, just outside of the operating budget, and I received in writing confirmation back from the town manager that that was the case. The reason why we chose to go this route is we pay a certain amount, not in one lump sum. We pay, so at July 1, if we don't get the appropriation right away, we still have enough in the health insurance account to start making our payments. That wouldn't come back if that appropriation doesn't come our way till later in the school year, fiscal year. But even more so why we chose to go this route, because with 26 cuts, I would be notifying even more staff, even if it were only temporarily, that we had to cut their positions, and I would potentially lose fantastic teachers who can't wait on a promise from the superintendent that they're coming back once they're laid off with money he doesn't have in his possession at this point, and so I did not want to, for the sake of holding that $833,000 placeholder, reduce staff any further, so that's why we chose to go this route.
And I have to say, that was a brilliant
That
move.
was a very smart thing to do.
One way or another,
Yeah.
this is not going to impact morale. This is not, we're impacting morale enough as it is. We're not going to be doing it anymore. So if we went forward and did a $1.6 million reduction and the $833,934, our final budget number comes out to
$125,708,344.
or a, what percent increase?
3.13% increase.
And that's, I'm just having you say it out loud, but it's on the top of this page. I just wanted to get that on the record. So with that in mind, and hearing that, the question, so again, in my mind, I'm reviewing this reduction in 2 steps, but I think we could take one vote. So if the consensus holds, if we would need a motion then to say we would be adjusting, moving to approve the budget of $125,708,344 with the adjustments listed by the administration with the following amendment.
As amended.
Yeah, that we just discussed, which is elimination of line item 83112 and the reduction of line item 12200 to the amount of $189,000. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second by Mr. Vashevsky. Motion by Mrs. Clark, second by Mr. Vashevsky. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Yes, I approve this budget.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Camuso?
Yes.
Mrs. Carmody?
Yes.
Mr. Carson?
Yes.
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Darrenowski Anastasio?
No.
Mr. Whitehead?
Yes.
Mr. O'Shannah?
Yes, the motion passes 8-1. Mr. Medancy, Mrs. Mellett, and the entire staff, thank you
So much.
for all this work, not just this work, but the work you did since last year to come up with this budget. Now, unfortunately, the harder work starts, because now you've got to take these positions out, readjust the class sizes. I mean, I just want to, reemphasize, and then we're done, the comments that you had said, the considerations. Larger class sizes in elementary school, fewer class choices at the high school, outplaced tuition costs, unemployment compensation associated with the reductions, compromised equipment replacement schedules, and a pay-for-play, which we've never had. I mean, we talked about pay-for-play several years ago. We didn't have to put it into place. It has to be in place now.
And we should publish this, so the town sees this.
I just had one remark. It would be great if all of the boards could get their shit together and essentially start working together on this.
You're right.
The Board of Education is the largest user of tax funds for Southington. And again, like that goes throughout Connecticut, we're not special. But if we have numbers up front, and we actually have dialogue, we actually have discussion, having to do things like this, having to, again, be concerned about where we're gonna find money, impacting morale, because I'll tell you what, like, when you have somebody listed on here, you can figure out who an administrator is, right? We don't have a lot of them. That's gonna impact morale. That really messes with people's psyche. So, again, like, we have to do better. There's no excuse at this point that we can't be communicating better, especially when you can send an email and get a response in 5 minutes. So that was just my 2 cents. Again, quite frankly, too, the amount of hours burned from doing the budget, then rebalancing the budget, then doing this, but again, hundreds of man-hours wasted on nonsense, right? So, we have to do better. We have to hold ourselves to a little bit of a higher standard. And again, like, not let the whole political nonsense of everything get in the way, because, at the end of the day, we have to educate our students appropriately. Right?
And that's the bottom line.
Absolutely.
That's the bottom line, Joe. Thank you. And just, I'm going to repeat it one last time, $833,934. Please remember that number, because that is the reduction in our budget amount that we're going to be starting from next year. It is not the amount that's going to be out there. It's going to be not the published amount. Take off $834,000 off that. We're starting in a big old hole. All right, we're going to move on to public communications. Any communication from the public on non-agenda items? Would anybody like to speak on a non-agenda item? Going once? All right, hearing none, we're looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.